It's time for another Trope Count, where we count all the traditional small-town hot cocoa romance tropes in a Hallmark Christmas movie. The goal? Find the movie that racks up the most tropes. What will be today's film? Let's find out. A great Hallmark Christmas film must fit the Hallmark feel-good formula. It's a genre of film with repetitive movie tropes that we all love. We will identify the tropes into 4 trope categories: story, character, Christmas, and activity. It's all very scientific and it's fueled by hot cocoa. Today we take a look at the 2018 Hallmark film, The Northern Lights of Christmas, starring Ashley Williams and Cody Siver. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, an airline pilot with a large bank account inherits a ranch, cares for some reindeer, plans a Christmas festival, spends all of her money, moves back to her hometown, and falls in love at the end. So grab some Christmas cookies and chocolate pudding from Otto's Diner. Let's count the tropes that make up the Northern Lights of Christmas. Walking through the Seattle airport, Ashley Williams plays Zoey, an airline pilot who stops to speak with a young girl. She tells Zoey that she wants to be a pilot too, and is good with her takeoffs, but her landings need work. Zoey gives her a set of wings and encourages her to live her dreams and keep practicing. Maybe use an app. Zoey receives a probate letter and calls her parents to tell them that she has inherited Gus's ranch in Alaska. Gus taught her to fly and was always like a grandfather to her. His death gives us the first of many dead family member tropes. She tells her parents that she has to change her planned trip to Florida to see them so she can go to Alaska and put the home on the market. The ranch is in the small Alaskan town of Aurora, and it's just as she remembered it as she returns to her hometown for Christmas. While walking in town, she is shocked to see a guy riding a motorcycle in December. Perhaps he heard her shade, because he gives her a mean look as he takes off down the street. Zoey walks into the small diner where Anya, the waitress, is encouraging the owner Otto to consider putting the peppermint brownie she made on the menu. Otto doesn't seem to understand why he needs another dessert on the menu. They already serve apple pie, lemon pie, and chocolate pudding. Anya argues that nobody orders the pudding. Otto disagrees, but has to concede that nobody orders it twice. Otto tries the brownie and he will think about it. How terrible is that pudding? Zoey surprises Anya, her best friend from high school. At first, Otto doesn't remember her until he is reminded years ago that Zoey used Gus's plane to fly and get a coil for Otto's deep fryer. Otto remembers her, referring to her as the teenage pilot who saved his summer. On the street, Zoey runs into Mrs. Walker, her 9th grade teacher. She is excited to hear that Zoey owns the ranch and asks if she's going to put on the Christmas festival this year. Aurora hasn't been the same since Gus stopped. After all, the town was famous for the event. She signs the paperwork to officially own Gus's ranch and pays the transfer fees using her credit card. The camera stays on the card and we see that her number is 4000-1234-5678-9010 and expires in December of 2022. We don't get a look at the 3-digit number, but if you plan on stealing her money, just be aware by the time this film is over, Zoey is pretty broke. She asks about finding a realtor in the area to help sell the home. Karen flips over her nameplate to reveal that she is the estate attorney and also a realtor. It's a small town. Karen warns her that she may not be able to sell the property until the spring, and after Gus's wife Ida passed a few years ago, Gus hired a caretaker for the ranch named Alec. He has been paid throughout the season and will maintain the home. Karen and Zoey drive out to the ranch. It still looks the same as when Zoey lived with Gus and Ida during her senior year of high school. This was after her dad was transferred to Florida. She gets excited when she sees Gus and Ida's trees. They always had a tradition to plant a Christmas tree every year they were married, and now they have a forest of trees. Zoey visits Holly the reindeer, who she bottle-fed 15 years ago after the reindeer lost her mother. Suddenly, the man on the motorcycle shows up. It turns out that this is the caretaker Alec, played by Cody Siver, who bluntly asks Zoey is she staying or selling. Zoey responds that she is selling. Angry at her response, he storms off to repair the fence. The next morning, she awakens from Alec knocking on the door. He shows her how to feed the reindeer Holly and Palmer, hands her an envelope, and wishes her luck. The envelope is filled with the money that Gus gave him to take care of the ranch. He believes that Gus left the ranch to Zoey to care for it and not sell to some stranger. Zoey argues that he left it to her to sell to buy her plane. In an effort to get Alec to stay, she promises not to sell to just anyone and will find a place for the reindeer. If he helps her repair the ranch, she will give him 10% of the sale price. Alec agrees to stay because money talks. In the barn, Zoey finds the Christmas festival decorations, including the sleigh where the kids get their picture taken of Santa as they tell him what they want for Christmas. Alec mentions that he's not a fan of Christmas, but Zoey loves Christmas and the picture of Gus that is hanging in the barn. Alec mentions that he took that photo, but it's just a hobby. Zoey is impressed, and they slowly start to get along. They discuss the plans to prepare the ranch, and first up is to replace the barn floor. At the hardware store, Karen tells Zoey she found a potential buyer who's interested in the property as a vacation home. Excited they may quickly sell, she buys a Christmas tree to help entice the buyers. Back at the ranch, Alec points out that she owns a mountain covered with trees, and yet she bought one from the store. Zoey doesn't care and begins to decorate the tree. She attempts to try to get Alex in the Christmas spirit and sing with her. He refuses and warns she may scare the reindeer with her singing. Karen stops by with potential buyers who clearly plan on changing the ranch. Alex knows that they are clearly not the right people and is upset that Zoey would even consider selling to people who may start with the barn and then tear down the entire house. The next morning, Alex stops by the house and Zoey doesn't answer. Annoyed, he goes into the barn and finds her working and is impressed. They decide that they need to show off the property because, the mountains and nature just aren't enough. They decide to revive Gus's Christmas festival to help spread the word and sell the property, and the film has now turned into a planning of the event story trope. Using the photo of Gus that Alec took, they make flyers for the event and hand them all over town. She runs into Samantha, who volunteers to help organize the craft booths. Anya offers to be in charge of the food. It seems that Zoey just delegates tasks to everyone. Does she do any of the work? While at the diner, Zoey gets a call that her reindeer is on the airfield runway, preventing planes from taking off. They speculate how the reindeer escaped and traveled so many miles away. Zoey wonders, can the reindeer fly? Now don't get too excited about the possibility of a flying reindeer. Out of all the different story directions, this one's going to disappoint you in the end. As Zoey tries to move the reindeer, she falls backward and Alec catches her. Chuck, the airfield director, tells her that the reindeer has been into this airstrip before, and Zoey questions why he keeps coming back. Since Zoey is the legal owner and this is the second time the reindeer has delayed the flight, he has to find her and she pays using her debit card. Back at the ranch, Zoey bakes cookies of Anya and talks to her parents on the phone. She will be home for Christmas, even if she has to hitch a ride on Santa's sleigh. They begin to decorate and they hook up the Christmas lights to the generator. Somehow, the lights overload and blow up the generator. Zoey heads back to the hardware store and purchases a new generator, along with 500 strings of Christmas lights, paying to have them delivered overnight. Zoey stops at the diner and tells Otto she forgot how much she misses Aurora. Otto gives her a peppermint brownie and asks if the festival will include the barn dance. She completely forgot. You gotta have the barn dance. Otto and her share memories about the dance, and Zoey realizes she still needs to replace the barn floor. She heads back to the hardware store to buy wood to fix the barn floor, and he tells her it's a little spendy.
Do you have any wide plank oak flooring?
Yeah, I have plenty of white plank oak. It's a little spendy.
Of course it is.
Now, I've never heard that term, but apparently it means expensive. The next day, they decorate Gus and Ida's trees with the new Christmas lights. She mentions to Alex that she remembers Gus used to hang a big star that people would make wishes on. She can't find it and it would be a real shame that they don't have it. She admits that the ranch is starting to feel like home. In Seattle, she lives a lonely life, but it's hard to be lonely in Aurora. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows her. They turn on the lights, and Alec takes a photo of her and admits that it was the first time he has ever decorated a Christmas tree. Shocked by that admission, Zoey asks how that is possible. We learn that his mom died when he was a baby, and his dad wasn't a decorating guy, but he did buy him his first camera. Zoey comments that he sounds like a smart man, and Alex says he was. Now, we don't get a mention that he is dead, but the way Alex talks about him is implied, so I'm going to count it. Zoey gets a call from the realtor that a hotel firm is interested in the property, and they will be there the next day. Running to tell Alex, she sees him leave on his motorcycle. His mission is to convince Jeff the pilot to let Zoey fly his mail route and make her feel at home in the air. Zoey agrees to fly the route, and Chuck gives her the itinerary and mentions that he will be retiring, hinting at how this film may end. Alec accompanies her to help deliver the mail. Zoey discusses that she loves flying and being in the air ever since her first lesson with Gus. The sky is where she belongs and it makes her feel like she's alive. They deliver flu vaccines, champagne, and preschool toys to the state troopers. At the last stop in Greenville, Alec has tracked down Gus's star for the Christmas festival. As they fly home, they see the northern lights in the sky and Alex takes photos from the plane. If you've been counting, then you know that it's the third coat she has worn, giving us the wear multiple coats 3 or more trope. She started off wearing a white coat with a red scarf and the more practical red heavy coat, and now this brown leather jacket. Zoey tells Alec that she's not going to be spending Christmas in Aurora, but in Florida with her parents. She needs to go back to her life and wishes she can take the ranch back and fly to Seattle. Alec is disappointed and he walks away. The potential buyer arrives and shows Zoey the plans for what they want to do with the property, which includes removing Gus and Ida's trees. Zoey asks that they reconsider, but when she asks Alec's opinion, he doesn't care anymore, now that Zoey is going to leave. Everybody in town is so excited about the festival. Otto agrees to play Santa and Anya begins baking cookies. While they bake, Anya suggests that the ranch get turned into a bed and breakfast. Zoey likes the idea, but her dream is flying, not owning and running a B&B. Looking for a gingerbread man cookie cutter, they find Ida's secret Christmas cookie recipe. The secret ingredient? Cornflakes. Chuck, the airfield director, calls to tell Zoey that the reindeer is back again and there's going to be another fine. She doesn't understand how he keeps getting out and questions again if the reindeer fly. Turns out that the reindeer is meeting up with another reindeer and keeps coming back to the airfield to find each other. Sure, we get reindeer romance, but do they fly? The film does not answer this question and we won't see how the reindeer get to the airfield. But Zoey takes in the other reindeer and we get a happy ending. On the day of the festival, nobody has shown up. Turns out that a giant tree fell across the main road, keeping people from attending. I guess they will have to cancel since nobody can get through and nobody owns a chainsaw in Alaska. Turns out that the entire town is going to move the tree, including her parents who surprise her. Well, that got resolved pretty quick. The Christmas festival begins. After all that planning, we can finally count the trope. People are enjoying the festivities and eating Ida's cookies. Otto can't wear the Santa suit because he's allergic to wool, so Alec steps in and is a terrible Santa, but he doesn't disappoint the kids. The barn dance begins and the festival is a huge success. Otto welcomes her home and tells her that she is a real asset to Aurora. They step out for some air and the northern lights are out. They are about to kiss, but get interrupted by the realtor that the hotel company made an offer and she can finally buy her plane and get the dream after all. Alec tells her it was nice helping and working with her and walks away for the third act misunderstanding. The next morning, Zoey is off to sign the papers, but changes her mind and decides to keep the ranch. She apologizes to the realtor and the buyer for wasting their time, and she finally figured out that this is where she belongs. You may be asking, what about flying? That was her dream after all. Turns out that Jeff is taking over as a new airfield director and needs somebody to lease his plane and fly. Zoey accepts the new job and has no reason to leave. However, by taking the job, she can no longer fulfill her dream of owning her own plane. She returns to the ranch and discovers that Alec is gone, but he left a photo and a note. Not having enough of the get-togethers, her parents throw a Christmas party at the ranch. Zoey changes her mind and offers Anya and Brock the opportunity to run the ranch as a B&B. They say yes, and now she has another career change. Poor Otto, though, lost all of his employees. Alex shows up and wants to chat. He drove 50 miles out of town and then just turned around. He has never put down roots, but is ready for the biggest adventure in building a life in Aurora with Zoey. We get the final kiss in front of a green screen with the northern lights keyed in and snowing. So how many tropes are in this movie? Let's count them. Looking at the numbers, the film where an airline pilot inherits a ranch on her hometown of Aurora, Alaska, known for their terrible chocolate pudding, plans and puts on a Christmas festival to help sell the property, spending her entire savings to ultimately decide to keep the ranch while not solving the mystery of how the reindeer keeps getting out to visit the airfield and falling in love with the caretaker who would rather be a photographer. If we add up the different categories, the Northern Lights of Christmas has a total of 35 tropes. The Northern Lights of Christmas not only has our main character returning to her small hometown, but also takes place in a cozy ranch that she inherits and that the film turns into an event planning film halfway through the story. It's a lot of story points that ultimately becomes overwhelming with the amount of things happening on screen. I'm not a fan of the event planning trope, and I'm not sure why we just didn't focus on Zoey falling back in love with her hometown. And then, if you add in flying reindeer, it really makes this a Christmas film. Now, Ashley Williams is one of my favorite Hallmark queens. She brings happiness and warmth to all of her characters. I didn't find a lot of chemistry between her and Corey Siver, but truthfully, the romance was buried with the bloated story tropes. We do get a ton of dead family members with a lot of Christmas tropes that helps give you a lot of feels. Did I miss any tropes? If so, tell me in the comments below. With a total of 35 tropes, The Northern Lights of Christmas takes the top spot with the most tropes in a Hallmark film. Will the next film rank higher? We will see with the next Trope Count featuring Nikki DeLoach and Michael Rady Hallmark film Two Turtle Doves from 2019. How will that movie rank? Click on the subscribe button to be alerted to when that episode is released if you want to find out. I'm the Christmas aficionado, and remember, stay off the naughty list.
Aurora. It's just like how I remember it.
And, welcome back to Aurora.
It's my favorite Aurora memory.
Half of the entire town of Aurora.
My name is Wayne Campbell. I live in Aurora.
Thought you were staying in Aurora. Christmas is only 2 days after the festival.
You moved away just before I came to Aurora.
I'm staying in Aurora.
You are?
Yeah.
All right.
If you're here, that means you're gonna be in Aurora's.
In time for the festival.
How long does it take for you to get here from Aurora?
I love Aurora, but you see such fabulous places.
I bet you get to hang out with the cool people every night.
Sometimes I wish I could boldly go where no man's gone before. But I'll probably stay in Aurora.
It's not in Seattle. It's in Aurora. And I love Aurora. So it'd be like giving everybody a gift.
Tell me you need more lights. You are gonna outshine the Aurora Borealis.
No. If they come from out of town, they'll see Aurora at its best.
I had a dream. We're gonna put on a concert in Aurora.
That's a great idea.
In fact, there's a lot of things I'm gonna miss about Aurora.
Just because Zoe's selling the ranch doesn't mean you have to go anywhere.
Well, how would you like to build a life with me in Aurora? In Aurora, it's hard to be lonely because I know everybody, and everybody knows me.
I would love to start a life with you in Aurora.
To Aurora.
To Aurora.
Welcome to Aurora! Not just a place, but a state of mind.